All right, back with Yeoman's work, and maybe I figure out how to do video for these instead of just audio. Um, in hindsight, it seemed pretty simple, but I'm a dumb dummy, so takes me a long time to figure things out. Right? Um, it's been a while. A lot of stuff has happened in sports, New York sports. The sporting world, my world. um, been busy lately. Started a new part-time job experience, coaching kids sports. They're real young. It's exhausting. Um, New ownership at my other job. Don't want to get into it, but been busy, so haven't had much time to carve out to do one of these. Taylor couldn't make it tonight, but it's okay. I'm just gonna do what I do best, talk to myself, you know, battle my own inner demons. Nothing like it. Um, yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on in sports. Just get right into it. This is the time of year where I helicopter into the NHL. I'm not like a real hockey fan, but the Rangers have been killing it. Two game seven wins, five straight wins when they're facing elimination. Mad respect to them. I gotta hate them because I'm a fraud Devils fan. I even became an Islander fan the last 2 years with their latest playoff runs. Why? I don't know. Because it's the Islanders. Like, who can really hate on them? I don't know the real hockey rivalries. I know, like, as a Devil fan, you're not supposed to root for the Rangers or the Islanders. So I'm rooting against the Rangers, but they're entertaining to watch. Playoff hockey is fantastic. Um, Dumb me bet on the Lightning game one. Rangers absolutely just cleaned the ice with the Lightning, if that's even a terminology in hockey. If it isn't, I just made it up. Um, yeah, that cost me a nice 10 spot. So big loss for me tonight. Um, yeah, but the Rangers are killing it. Shesterkin is a great goalie. That's Zibanejad. I can just list names of guys that I've heard of on the Rangers. Act like I know a thing or two. I don't really know, but they're killing it. It's good for the city of New York. I hate them. I hope they crash and burn, or the fans just get let down in the worst way possible. Because I have a lot of hate in my heart. None of my teams ever win a championship. But it's good for them. It's good for the Ranger fans. I'm just joking, halfway. But that's about my hockey knowledge. I believe the Avalanche are playing the Oilers in the Western Conference. Connor McDavid apparently been killing it. I'm probably not going to watch much of that series. I can't even, I can't front. I'm not like a real hockey fan, but when there's a rooting interest in it for me, like I will helicopter in and watch it. It's very entertaining. Anyway, let's get to the sports I really know about. I started with hockey. I don't know why. I guess because I just watched the game a little bit. The Mets off to a great start. I couldn't be happier about them, minus the fact that Scherzer is hurt and DeGrom, obviously, we're waiting for him to get back. He hasn't played yet. Um, I was actually at the game a couple of weeks ago when Scherzer basically pulled himself from the game. I didn't even notice it because I was too busy having a good time enjoying the game, walking around Citi Field. Um, Shout out to Steve for getting me 2 free beers. That was clutch. That was tight. Um, yeah, but there's a good feeling about the Mets. Like they've had this before, but Buck Showalter just brings a level of credibility, I guess, that they haven't had. Um, it just, it feels like it's sustainable, whereas other years you're kind of just hoping. They really have a good foundation. They have professional hitters. They brought in Kana, Starling Marte. Lindor is looking like he's kind of living up to what he could be. Last year was, I mean, you can chalk it up to a throwaway year. It was horrible. Like that was, I had him on my fantasy team, of course. This year I didn't draft any Mets because I'm like, I'm not jinxing them. Every time I draft a Met, it's like a problem. They get hurt. They suck. Everything in the Mets world is controlled by what I do, obviously. No, but it just seems that way. So I was like, just I'm gonna lay off them for fantasy purposes. But you know what? They're doing great. Just seems to be clicking. It's good to see them have offense for once to back up the pitching. The pitching's been good. The bullpen is they're decent. Um, Edwin, the closer, he's been good. You know, he's gonna blow a couple from time to time because sometimes he just has control issues, but his stuff is pretty filthy for the most part. Edwin Diaz. I don't know why his last name. I was gonna say Gonzalez or something. I don't know. But yeah, they've been great. They're gonna go play the Dodgers and I believe the Padres after that. So they're gonna go to LA and then San Diego. Dodgers just pooped the bed a little against the Pirates. um, I'm gonna double check, but I think they lost three in a row to them. Yeah, at home. Oh, it's the ninth inning. I'm just assuming they're about to lose. It's 8-4. So maybe they're looking ahead to the Mets. Maybe, but the Mets took care of business. They beat the Nationals, swept the Phillies the series before that. 6 games in a row, 6 game winning streak. What more can you ask for? Nats are not a good team. They're really their starting pitching is absolutely horrendous. Um, I feel bad for those fans, kind of. I mean, they paid the price for winning the World Series a couple of years ago. Phillies should be a lot better. Their bullpen is like it's cursed or something. Every year it seems like that closer role for them is just like it never seems to be good. Corey Knievel, he's a decent closer, and he's having all kinds of problems. That Mets 7-run comeback, that was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. Against the Phillies too, which made it even more sweet. That was absolutely fantastic. And they've had a bunch of great comebacks. The team seems to come back a lot. I know Gary, Keith, and Ron bring it up, all the time. They were down 3-0 in the first inning on Memorial Day, and they came back and they won that game by like 6, 7 runs. It was like 12-5 or something around that. Like, they've been scoring. It's nice to see them hitting and not like needing the starters to be absolutely perfect. So yeah, Mets off to a great start. Yankees off to a great start too. I'm not surprised by that, but I'm more surprised with how bad the Blue Jays and the Rays have been. The Blue Jays were the favorite to win the AL East, and you know, it's kind of like you gotta beat the best before you can be the best, or to misquote Ric Flair, or Steve Summers or whoever said that, but yeah, like the Yankees, they always seem to have a stranglehold on that division, or they're at least always good. And it's like, here they are, they're good again. They're hitting a couple of speed bumps. I don't fully trust them. They're probably going to win the division, so they'll be good. But it's uh, Rizzo's gone ice cold. He had a great start. He's gone cold. Aaron Hicks, I think, is a good player, but he's lost right now, and they can't really do anything about it. They signed him to that long term deal. Um, Cole is doing good. Severino is pitching very well. Nestor Cortez pitching very well. They got rained out tonight. He was supposed to pitch. Jordan Montgomery, you know, he's a nice lefty for them. Um, so yeah, I see them winning the division, but I'm not sure. They still seem to be like a home run or nothing type of team. Judge is absolutely crushing it. Could win AL MVP if they don't just like default it to Shohei Ohtani, which it's not fair because he hits and pitches. Like he's probably a top 10 hitter in the AL, and then you add in he's probably like a top 20-ish starting pitcher in the game. How can you not give it to him? But Judge, you could make a very good argument right now as the AL MVP, especially since the Angels have a decent record, but they're not a complete team. They don't have the pitching. Every year they do that. They add nice pieces. They have good pieces. But it's like if you're really trying to win a championship, you gotta go for it. You can't just be like, oh well, we added a nice free agent. We added Anthony Rendon. Great, he's a really good player, although he can't stay healthy either. But like you gotta add, you need starting pitching. You need bullpen depth. You need other hitters. You can't just have a good 1, 2, 3, 4. They got a good lineup. Not to get too into it on the LA Angels, who gives you know, a flying F. Trying not to swear, even though I can swear all I want. I can say poop or ass, whatever I want. It's my show. But yeah, no, Yankees hot start. They'll probably win the East. Mets, I hope they win the East. It's been I think 7 years now. 2015. It's kind of pathetic, but you know, new ownership. It's a new era for the Mets. I'm happy with baseball where it is right now. The ball's dead apparently, but the weather's warming up. It seems to be coming back. It should be a good season down the line. I'm uh I'm looking forward to it, and definitely this West Coast road trip for the Mets is gonna tell a lot about the team. You know. So anyway, the big sports news, I guess. I mean, if you're a hockey fan, the playoffs are going on. Celtics and Warriors NBA Finals. I can't call it either way. I mean, like Boston's defense is so good, and they absolutely smacked the Nets. I mean, the first two games could have gone either way, but after that, it was just like, yeah, they were basically in control the whole time. The Celtics. Nets complete embarrassment. They basically got what they paid for. They thought they could. I love this phrase. They thought they could just roll their jocks out there and win. without playing together all year, but it doesn't work that way. Obviously, Boston was the better team. It's a team sport, and it's sickening, really, to me that Kyrie would come out and say, "Oh, we didn't have that many games together, and that's why." Well, why do you think we didn't have that many games together? You piece of garbage. He's a real piece of work. But yeah, the Nets. I mean, that's another story for another day. I could wax poetic about how shitty our season ended. What can I say? It was an utter disappointment. Um, Complete failure would be two more words that come to mind. Dumpster fire at the end, maybe. I don't know. And then they're talking about re-signing Kyrie, trading him, whatever. Get rid of him. I'd love to see them get rid of him. Bring in anyone. Bring in a guy who likes playing basketball. How about to play with Kevin Durant? And him and Durant, they're like best friends. They do this stupid little like finger pinky swear handshake. And Kyrie's like warped Durant's mind, like he brainwashed him into like being okay with all the stupid stuff he does that's like so uh not for the team, just to like fulfill his selfish desires, and like to act like he's a pariah, and to act like he's God's gift to earth because he like stands up for causes, and he's a voice for the voiceless. The vaccine thing, it's like a crock of shit, really. That I'm not anti-vax. I just want to stand. You want to not play. You just want to like collect your check, come in the playoffs. Everyone oohs and ahs when you score 50 points against the Orlando Magic. And, I was one of those people, but I didn't mean to make this about Kyrie. I didn't think I was even going to talk about this, but it always just comes back to that. But great player, rocks for brains in my opinion. He's actually a smart guy, so that's false. But he's just like one of those guys that doesn't like get it. There's a reason why there's the meme of him as the Grim Reaper, and he goes from locker room door to locker room door. Another thing I like to do is explain memes like verbally, because like I don't know why, I just find that funny. But you've seen the meme if you know memes, and yeah, there's a reason that meme exists. Memes reflect reality. Everyone knows that. Um, but getting off that subject, the Celtics and the Warriors are in the finals. I can't choose one way or the other. Like if I had to, like my head tells me Warriors should win, but Boston's just like kind of, they seem to be like that team this year. It's hard to explain, but you can kind of understand what I'm saying. Like they have just had those kind of wins where it's like, oh, no one expected us to win, and we're a team based on defense. Warriors have won before, so they have the muscle memory. They know what it takes, so that gives them an advantage, and they get home court advantage. Um, Man, it's a tough one to call. I might, I might put like maybe like a 10 on the Warriors, just because I hate Boston, and it'll just make it that much more fun. But I don't know. It's really tough to call. I want to say if I'm a betting man, actually, yeah, I'd probably bet on Boston just because they seem to be that team, this year. So it should be a good series at least. Admittedly, I haven't watched too much of the basketball just because it's like when the Nets got eliminated in the fashion that they did, it really like sucked the life out of the playoffs for me. Like usually I watch the whole thing, like almost every game. But between the Nets losing and the Mets being so good, I've been way more into baseball. Um I'm really when it comes to watching sports, baseball is my favorite sport. I'm sure I've mentioned it before. But yeah, the basketball's been rough for me. Just, the whole Nets thing, whatever. But it should be a fun series. Um, what else did I want to get to? Oh yeah, wow, it's been a while since I did a podcast. The Jets and the Giants, on paper had great drafts. I think a lot of consensus is the Jets had the best draft of any team. Yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. um, and I like how they drafted. They got every position they needed, but it's great to be like, oh, this is the highest rated player, this guy and that guy. But I've seen plenty of busts in my day. Um, and also for the Jets specifically, if Zach Wilson isn't good, you know, it's going to be Mark Sanchez all over again at best because the AFC is, you know, like every team is a playoff capable team, playoff caliber team. Um, so, I'm just hoping the Jets can compete a little this year. 7 wins would be okay. 8 and how many games are there? 17. 8 and 9 would be a huge success in my eyes if Zach Wilson looks good. Um, it's a tough schedule, but mainly it's tough because they don't get to play themselves. There's only a couple bad teams in the AFC. You got the Jaguars are probably the worst team in football. And then what? Like the AFC's it's tough. The whole AFC West are all playoff caliber teams. Um, you look at the AFC South, Colts should be good again. Um, okay, Texans probably are worse than the Jets. I mean, that's probably Texans and Jaguars, the two worst teams in the league. They're in the same division. But other than that, pretty much everyone in the AFC could be good. The Dolphins, they're always a pain in our ass. They're going to be better. They got Tyreek Hill. You know, we'll see what happens. Um, I'm looking forward to the football season. Um, I could get into the Giants, but to me, they're like where the Jets are, kind of. But Daniel Jones is a more like he's basically where Sam Darnold was going in year 3. Like he hasn't really shown that much. I don't really believe in him, but I guess now that the team is better, he has an offensive line, he's got weapons. Theoretically, he could have a good year. And the NFC East, none of those teams really scare me that bad. The Cowboys lost a lot of key pieces. Um, if I could remember any of their names, I'm really bad with football names because I just mostly watch football through fantasy perspective and the Jets, the pathetic Jets, who've ruined football for me for the last 10 years. um, that was just an eye itch. I wasn't crying. But yeah, football's good. Sports are good. um, yeah, the last thing I wanted to bring up. Well, really two separate things, but sports related. I watched the Tony Hawk documentary. I thought it was phenomenal, but that's coming from someone who loved Tony Hawk, loved the video games. I watched live when he was doing the 900 during the X Games. I forget the exact year. It was like it had to be the late 90s. Maybe it was early 2000s, but regardless. The documentary, it's on HBO. It's fantastic. Um, I wrote notes even after I was gonna talk about it more in depth, but it's been like a month since I watched it. But let's just see. I got my notes here. Number one, I guess these are the things I liked about it or took away from it. Number one, the triumph of the human spirit. Tony Hawk, there's a lot of stuff I didn't know about him. His parents were like much older. He was like the way youngest of his brother. His brothers and sisters are like much older than him. So like he was like the kid, and his dad would come and help set up all these skating events, and like you know his mom is actually still alive. She's very old, and she was like in the hospital. She has like I think she has like dementia or something. She's in assisted living. But besides that point, yeah, just the triumph of the human spirit, just like a kid that found what he wanted to do and just like stuck with it, practiced it, obsessed over it, and just became the best in the world at it. Um, Something I found really interesting and funny about it, when he was because when he started riding, doing competitions, they were doing bowls, and he was the first guy going in the air and doing like flip tricks. He was doing varials, and this guy in the documentary is this old school skater, and he was talking. It was funny. He was like, yeah, he was doing these stupid little flip tricks, and we're like, that's not skating. Like that's not skating. Meanwhile, like Tony Hawk's doing these like amazing tricks, and they're just like riding up and down the bowl, like maybe throwing a 50-50 grind in there. And Tony's doing like these crazy varial 360s. Like they're using these old crappy boards that you never used to. I found that funny. But number two thing I took away from it: coming to grips with your own humanity. This part like kind of choked me up because it was sad. Tony like getting older, and he's trying to land his old tricks that he did, and he's like, this could be the last time doing these tricks. And it's like, wow, this guy. Um, you watch it, and it's like I've never, anytime you see someone that you haven't seen in a while, that's the oldest they've ever been to you. So like seeing Tony Hawk as like kind of an older man, he's 50 something. You can look up how old Tony Hawk is, but you see him now and he's all wrinkly and it's like, this guy's like a icon, a legend, and just to see him age, it's kind of sad, but it's like, it's part of life. Um, the other, okay, well, I guess we're just listening. Number three, just pushing limits. Like, because it's not fresh in my mind anymore. But he just was doing these tricks, like, trying to add this, add a spin, go higher, go farther, like just doing stuff no one's ever done before. It's like it's so respectable, and it's um, the way he broke ground doing things, and adding into that the humanization of iconic figures. I never knew this stuff about Tony, like that his parents were a lot older, that you know there were times when he wanted to quit skating because when he was like the number one ranked in the world, there was a lot of pressure on him and it wasn't fun for him anymore. And it's understandable. And it's like, it was cool to see that he's not just this guy that was amazing at skating. Like, he had human emotions, like most of us do. Um, and the relevance of the 900 was so, like, for someone like my age who was, a preteen at the time when he did that, it was so cool seeing a moment like that. Like, that was probably like a top 10 at least sports moments of my life that I saw. I wish I was there, but seeing it on TV, he just kept going for it and going for it. He fell, he almost landed it, and it was like a microcosm of everything that he was pushing the boundaries. And just like when he landed it, it was so like, yes, everyone was rooting for him to land it. It's different than team sports because people hate this team, people hate that team. I can relate. But like everyone that was watching that was rooting for him. It was such a great moment, like of the 90s, early 2000s. Just absolutely iconic. And the video games were also a huge part of my childhood. They didn't get too into it in the documentary, but I remember playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater for the N64, and I I remember when it came out, I was sleeping over, I think, at my friend Matt Rogers' house. He had a copy, and I was like, "This is the coolest thing I've ever seen!" Like controlling a skateboarder, doing tricks, not just skating. Like they had three extreme, but like the tricks were so limited in that, and games like that, but a skateboarding game where you could basically make the guy do exactly what you wanted to do, like flip tricks, grab tricks, spins, grinds, and add into that the soundtracks for those games were just phenomenal. And in the documentary had some great songs in it too. But the music from those games, like some of that like shaped some of the music that I still listen to, like my musical taste. Ton of like ska, punk rock, um, old school hip hop. Just if you haven't listened, I mean, if you're listening to this, you probably listened to the Tony Hawk soundtrack, but Tony Hawk's got some phenomenal taste in music. I'll give him that as well. But yeah, watch the documentary if you haven't. It's fantastic. If you're someone who grew up skateboarding like me as a kid, or even just watching it, or just playing the video games, it's really like enlightening. Oh, and the one other thing, Rodney Mullen. Rodney Mullen is like this like wizard like guru guy now and he's just like this sage uh like guy, and he's just like when he talks it's just like he's speaking it's hard to explain but he's just like everything he says it's like whoa, like Rodney's like on like a higher plane of existence. And if you haven't, and I'm sure if you're listening to this you know who Rodney Mullen is. He was like he was basically the king of like flat ground skateboarding. You could just do like the craziest things on flat ground with a skateboard. And him and Tony Hawk are great friends, like to this day. And it's funny because their styles of skating are completely opposite. Tony was all about aerials, half pipe. Rodney was a street skater with basically like flat ground, but both of them the best at their craft. So like the yin and the yang of skateboarding. But yeah, Rodney was real funny in that. He had some like everything he said made you think. Um, and besides that, so I watched that. That was good. And then non-sports related, but just because it was a big deal. I saw the new Batman movie, and it was pretty good actually. I had low expectations for it, but in my mind, I like Spider-Man. I like Iron Man. I like the Hulk. But to me, Batman's like the only superhero that really matters. Like, I'm sorry. Say what you will about any of them. Those other ones are kind of cool. Superman's lame as hell, if you ask me. He's too overpowered. Anyway, Batman to me, Batman's the shit. I love Batman, Batman the animated series, all the cartoons. But aside from the fact that he adds, um, not only is he the world's greatest detective, he also can kick ass and he has the cool gadgets. But what makes Batman so good is the villains. All his villains are like iconic. They're all great villains. Penguin was good in this one. The Riddler was good. But like, you just when you think about Batman, you know his villains. Obviously, the Joker, the greatest superhero villain of all time. Penguin, Doctor Freeze, the Riddler, Catwoman, quasi villain slash ally, but she's iconic in her own right. But like you think of like Superman, yeah, he's got Lex Luthor, but then who else does he got? And really, you don't. Spider-Man's got the Green Goblin, and he's got a couple other, Doctor Octopus. But what makes Batman so good are his villains are so um, compelling. So to tie it into sports, I think like what makes sports great is the great rivalries. And I'm hoping that the Jets can be maybe like the Joker to one of these other teams like Batman or whatever. Not to mix metaphors, but you get what I'm saying. Anyway, I've rambled for long enough. Uh, Hopefully be more consistent with it. Hopefully this video works and I didn't just waste 40 minutes. But thanks for listening, guys. Yeah, that was Yeoman's work. I forgot to introduce the episode, but it is Thursday. Well, now it's Thursday, June 2nd. I started on Wednesday, June 1st, but I forget the episode number, but you can figure it out. It'll be in the title. So, thanks for listening, guys.